As our summer break rolls on, we're continuing to revisit episodes from our Unapologetically ADHD launch series right now. This one all about the Workbox. If you've ever felt like you've mastered collecting tasks but can't quite get to doing them, the Workbox might just be the missing piece. In this episode, we unpack the difference between inboxing and workboxing, explore why your task manager might actually be sabotaging your focus, and talk about managing impulsivity by introducing the right kind of friction. It's all about building a system that gets you from I captured it to I did that thing. We'd love to hear how your Workbox is working for you, so come on, join us in the Discord server while we're on a break. On with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and that there is my co-author, Nikki Kinzer.
Ooh, that's fancy.
So
I like
fancy.
it. Hello, co-author Pete Wright.
Well, hello, co-author. I'm loving this little mini-series that we're doing here, which is just sort of illuminating some of our favorite pieces and concepts from our new book, Unapologetically ADHD, available September 4th, wherever books are sold. Available for pre-order right now. What am I saying? And this week we're talking about workboxing. The planning workbox. And we have no other pitch than that. I'm not going to talk about anything else. Shh, my lips are sealed on anything else. I'm just going to tell you we're extremely excited about the book, and we really hope that you will consider visiting Amazon or Barnes & Noble or bookshop.org. And very soon, I have it on great authority that the ebook version is available for sale about a week before the hardcover starts shipping. And that would be, I think, today. At some point today, you should be able to refresh your page. But they did say about a week, and about carries a lot of weight. So That's it, Unapologetically ADHD by us. And we're really excited about it. Today, we're talking about the planning workbox. First and foremost, can I give you a little history?
Yes.
Do you remember the first time we talked about this concept?
I know it was many, many, many years ago. And I also know that I didn't hold on to it when you talked about it. Like, it made sense to me, but I didn't hold on to that and run with it like we did in the book, or that we've done in the last couple of years.
I now think I know why.
Why?
Because the concept has been pretty consistent. But the term has changed. The first time we talked about this was in a digital episode. Do you remember when we used to have bespoke digital episodes?
Right, like once a month.
Uh-huh. And that episode was about digital distraction. And the word we used for it then was the toolbox, the inbox and the toolbox.
Okay.
And it evolved over the subsequent references to it in the podcast from toolbox to workbox intentionally, because toolbox felt amorphous, right? It felt like, a toolbox has everything in it, but a workbox is where you get work done. But the first reference to it was over 10 years ago.
Wow. And
it was February 24th, 2014, and it was referred to as the toolbox, but it's the same thing. Inbox, toolbox, inbox, workbox.
So do you remember when you went from toolbox to workbox? Because this is
almost
definitely
immediately.
Okay. And so my question to you then is this something that you just sort of came up with? Like, this is just something that you invented and worked with and made sense to you and you went on with it? Or did you hear it somewhere? Or how did that transition? How did it get introduced to you?
In the transcript of the podcast, I say, this is the concept that I'm working on. I don't know if it's original. It can't be original, but this is what I'm working with. So you
didn't even know back then. Yeah.
I didn't know if anybody had done anything with it. And even if it was original, I was so full of self-doubt and self-loathing that I decided to undercut it immediately.
Right. It may be an original idea, but...
Yeah, but I'm sure because I came up with it, it's not. That's kind of where it was. It's impossible that I would have done that. And yet it really, for me, it really stuck. And
Yes.
we started referring to it as the Workbox almost immediately. And well, I should say I did. And once you cottoned onto it, it took off.
Mhm, mhm. Well,
You
and for me
magnified
personally,
with
it took off.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, it took off when we had to write about it, right?
Hmm.
Because it's one thing to talk in conversation and, grasp this idea and, oh, this really makes sense. And it's coming from someone who has ADHD and has, sat on it for a while and it's still resonating, right?
Hmm.
That it didn't
Hmm.
ever stop getting shiny. But it wasn't really until we had to like write these concepts into some kind of organized fashion
Yeah.
in this book that when you started talking to me about it in one of our meetings, it was just like, that's it. That's
Hmm.
it. That's what we have to like coin here is how to
Something
bring
to
this all together.
define. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, and so when I was thinking about the concept and how we write about it in the book, I went back to that original episode because I needed to refresh myself on what, what how it evolved. And it evolved not necessarily as its own thing, but as an alternative to the other concept that we talk about in the book, inboxing.
Hmm.
Inboxing versus workboxing. And I feel like we have to just talk a little bit about inboxing before we talk about workboxing. So,
Absolutely. I agree.
inboxing. Inboxing is being thoughtful and comprehensive in the way we approach all of the incoming signal into our lives. We know we have an email inbox. Most of us probably have multiple email inboxes. We also have voicemail inboxes. We have all of our messaging app inboxes. We have social media messaging inboxes, notifications. We have the mail. Right? If somebody sends you a letter, remember what that's like? You have it on paper. That's also an inbox. Anything that comes into your life as an external signal into your life gets into an inbox, right? And that even includes your mental inbox, your brain dump inbox,
Hmm.
and capturing new ideas. That's also effectively an inbox. And so having a comprehensive method for making sure that you put all those things in one place that you need to act on, that's inboxing. And that takes practice, right? It really does take practice.
Well, and I think it takes practice. I think it's awareness, identifying where your inboxes are because it's not one place, it's several places. So
Hmm.
then it's identifying that when you're checking for new information that are potential tasks or calendar events, that you're checking your email, that you're checking your voicemail, that you're checking the little
Hmm.
scratch pad that's next to your desk, right? So it's being aware of what these things are for you.
Right. And that the
And
neurotypical brain can compartmentalize and decompartmentalize much easier than we can. And that they can visualize all the inboxes and concatenate them in a way that I think makes more natural sense in a way that is very difficult for the ADHD
yes,
brain.
because the ADHD brain is scattered. It's all over
Hmm.
the place. And
Yeah.
and I think that for too long too, we also probably have had this idea that putting something on a sticky note isn't a good idea. Like that doesn't it but it actually does serve a purpose.
Yes.
If you're intentional with it and you know that it is going to go somewhere or something's going to happen with that sticky note, what I think we're saying is that use the sticky note. Like that's one of your
That's one of
inboxes.
your inboxes. The
So
trick is making sure you acknowledge that,
that you
right?
acknowledge it, you're
Yeah.
aware of it. And, I will tell clients and people from the GPS membership, list these inboxes out so you know
Hmm.
what they are and you can check them without having to rely on memory. Because some of these things, like for me personally, text messages get lost. But
Yeah.
that is such an important inbox for me because that's how I communicate with clients.
Yes.
And so I have to somehow remember to always check the text
Right.
messages.
And there probably merits a conversation at some point, not today, about how to get signal from all of those inboxes into your main inbox, right? Like how to get those into your
Oh, that
system
would be
to
next
actually
week,
do the
Pete,
work.
right?
So I don't know when that's going to happen, but we'll
Next
put it on
week,
the list for someday. Someday we'll talk
someday,
about that.
next week.
I'm sure there will be a plan. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Your mic is breaking up. Well, so
we have a method here. We have a flow we're going on. Yeah. We know
so
what we're doing.
That's inboxing. And the idea, and I think this is why, the toolbox, workbox concept came up because we spend so much time with ADHD figuring out how to manage our inboxes, right? Like this
Yeah.
is, I have so many, I'm bombarded by signal. How do I make sense of it all? And often the planning stops there, right? We get so happy with the actual tools that we have to manage all of the incoming signal and be on top of the quick messages and things like that we kind of stop when it comes time to actually do the work. And that's what workboxing is. Workboxing is the comprehensive approach to the time and tools that you use to actually do the work that is in your inbox. And the most important thing about workboxing is what you're not doing when you're in workboxing mode. And that is checking your inboxes, right? All you're doing there is working on the work. And so I put together some thoughts about like how to sorry.
No, since we're here, since we have a break here, first of all, what happened?
Well, I used my trash can as a footrest, and I pivoted, and it fell, and it knocked over my recycling, and I was kind of a mess on the floor right now, and I think I might have sprained my ankle in the process.
Oh my God, Pete. That is not good. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need to sit down and podcast?
Just doing some ankle rolls. Just doing some ankle rolls.
We have an injury. We have an injury timeout.
Oh I don't think Workman's Comp acknowledges podcasting as a career, so I might be in trouble. Okay, I'll be fine. I'm fine. What did you want to do?
I want to make sure that you talk about the key principles of effective inboxing. Are you going there? Because we skipped that.
No, you're right. I was trying to be efficient. I skipped it.
But those are really good.
Okay. So as we wrap up our thoughts on, you're going to try and recover, but it's hard because you know that I'm
because I know your ankle hurts.
God.
Okay, I got to stop smiling.
So as we wrap up the whole concept of inboxing, just think about it in terms of our three key principles. First, make it a practice, right? It's not just check your voicemail. It's like manage your inboxes. Make sure you know, as Nikki said, write down your inboxes on a list and make sure that you're checking all of them and considering all of them, because if you have signal. And if you don't want an inbox to be an inbox, tell people that, right?
Oh, you're so good at that with voicemail. You did that years and years ago.
Yep, years ago. And it actually broke. I need to figure out how to fix it. When Apple changed their voicemail on the iPhone, and I kind of broke my voicemail box. But it said for years, thank you so much for calling. I don't check my voicemail. Please text at the same number you just called. Like, I just don't, it's not an inbox that I welcome signal. And as a result, I sometimes look at it once a year and I get voicemail from people saying, Pete, I know you'll never get this, but, and they leave me messages. It's like a time capsule. So, definitely, that becomes an issue of boundaries. Tell people when you don't want an inbox, turn that off. But otherwise, if it's on, make sure you're considering it. And remember that writing it down, the thing that you're adding to your inbox, is not a commitment to do it, right? Just because you capture this incoming signal, this task, it doesn't obligate you to do it. It just makes sure you won't forget it, right? That's the important part. Don't stop and think, will I do this thing when you're inboxing? That's not the time.
Right. You're just capturing
get it down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is sort of summarized in focus on capturing and not completing. The goal is to get everything out of your head into a system and not to address every item on the list. Okay. So inboxing. Great. All right. Workboxing then is the time that you dedicate to working on the stuff that's on your various lists and your consideration of the tools that you use to get your work done. Now, I add all those things together because I think that came out of GTD a long time ago, which is this idea of context. And David Allen said, had this whole thing about making sure that you had the tasks that you needed to work on in the right place at the right time. So tag things as calls when you're by a phone. Now we're always by a phone, so calls may mean something different to you today. But for him, it was when I'm at my office at my desk and next to my phone, I need to make phone calls. I'm going to do the tasks that are tagged as calls. That sort of a thing. If there
Right.
are design tasks, then you need to be in a place where you have your design tools. And for David Allen, it would have been, a drafting table and a
Mm.
T-square, right? So I look at that and think, what are the tools that are in my workbox that are context specific? So for me, it's most days Logic Pro Studio, Overcast, Obsidian, Whisper, Drafts, Transistor, and Coda, and probably something to drink. Now, I just named off the apps that are in my workbox open most of the day. And what is missing from that list?
Well, your calendar and your task manager,
Yeah,
which
Todoist, Fantastic.
are really important tools when it comes to planning.
What happens when I open Todoist and leave it open while I'm working?
Well, I'm hoping that if you open up Todoist and you're working, that you are looking at Todoist to tell you what to work on.
I would hope that too, Nikki, but you poor fool. That's not what happens at all.
Oh, well, then tell me what happens.
In order to be in full workboxing mode, I do open Todoist or I open my calendar and I have it with me on a separate screen and I look at the next task and then I close it. And I have the information about the next task that I need to work on. And then I come back into my workbox mode and I actually do the work. Because what I know about myself is that when I leave my time and planning tools open in front of me in too easy reach, it will not take long before I switch back into inboxing mode. And I need to have a better boundary than that, or I
Okay,
won't get
that's a
stuff done.
great point.
When I am
Because, yeah.
workboxing, I'm not planning. That's how the context is different. And that's
So what you're
super
doing,
important.
it's super important because I think that what happens, what I see so many times with the GPS members is they get overwhelmed with everything that they're seeing. And so even if they've prioritized, and this is not just GPS members, this is just my experience with working with specific clients. Let's take that all out because that doesn't make sense. When I'm, so we're going to pause.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So when
Breathe.
I'm working with my clients, what I see is they get very overwhelmed by looking at the whole list. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you're saying is I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take the thing I'm working on and then I'm closing it up so that I don't get distracted by every single thing that you're seeing. And you're also, I think, building trust in yourself and confidence that you've chosen the right thing to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have it open all the time, then it does distract you and you could easily second guess if you're working on the right thing. So this is really interesting to me because now that we're talking about this, this is an important concept and it's one that I haven't always talked about because I will always encourage people to be looking at their lists all day long. But really, it's to look at the list, get what you need, get rid of the list, go back when you need that next step, right? So, yeah, I'm glad that you've pointed this out. This is really
It's
good.
really important because there is a real power in do you know what to do next, right? And if you've been inboxing thoroughly, and we're not talking necessarily about inboxing right now. And as you said, we're going to talk about more of these practical concepts next week. But if you've been doing that process right and prioritizing as you teach, then you know what to do next. And you don't need to have the list of all your tasks open at any given time once you know what you're working on. While I'm editing a podcast or writing show notes, I don't need to have Todoist open next to that because I know what I'm doing. I know I have all the signals in place in front of me to actually edit the show. I'm not going to get distracted because logic is right there. I can't miss it. I mean, I can get distracted pretty easily, but what I'm saying is that's what I'm working on now. I don't need to be distracted by future work because that just causes anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and this is also, I think, a good way of incorporating how to work with a digital and a paper system, because
Sure.
this is something that I definitely have talked a lot about in the membership is you can have a digital task manager that's almost it's like a I mean, it's a project manager, right? It's
Hmm.
for you to be able to put this project in place and start breaking it down. But then you can take your top 3 priorities or focuses for the day and put that into a planner or put that into some kind of paper form. And again, close that task manager. So you
Yeah.
know exactly what you're focused on.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, now that we're saying that, I do encourage that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I love it. Great way
And
to
that's a,
kind of
yeah.
really distinguish what's going on, and you focusing to do the work, getting the work done.
Yes. Right. Right. And this goes into a concept, another concept I want to talk about today in a minute, which is on managing impulsivity
Yeah.
and the relationship of impulsivity to friction in when you're in workboxing mode, which is important.
This is what happens. Almost every single presentation I've ever done on time management, planning, scheduling, time blocking, avoiding tasks, whatever it may be. There's always a question that comes up into the chat.
Yeah.
What are the best tools for ADHD?
Yeah.
And it's always a question that I have to answer, and I just expect it because it's just, of course you want to know, right? There's got to be this perfect tool that works perfectly for the ADHD mind. And people are frustrated because they've tried so many, and they have every system out there downloaded, or they've tried every kind of paper planner. I mean, I've seen boxes of paper planners collected, all of these things. And the trend is that it works for a little while until it doesn't work anymore.
Hmm.
And it's usually a couple weeks, maybe a month, we'll get if we're really good. But then it's frustrating, right? Of course, it's frustrating. It's a cycle that you just keep doing. But there's always this like little belief that, oh, this next thing, it will be it. It will be the thing that will, make life easier. So in the book, we have this whole section, talking about, is it the tool or is it something else? And assumptions are easily made that it's the tool or it's just me.
Hmm.
Right. So it's kind of both. It's like, well, this tool doesn't work because I don't ever look at it, but I also know that I'm the problem as well. So
Right.
it's confusing. It's confusing. So the reality is there is no perfect tool for ADHD because really any tool can work with ADHD. And I've seen them all from very basic note cards to these are the next 3 things I'm doing today
Hmm.
to really complex Notion, Obsidian uh things that are just so complex that I don't understand them. So they can be it can be anything. So what I think is important is to understand that the tool, yes, it's important, but it's not as important as you probably think it is. It's more important on how you use the tool and the purpose of it and how it works with all of your other tools, all your inboxes, and all of the other workbox tools that you have, because it's all like the system that is complete. If we look at our tools as just individual, then they start to break. If we don't see how the calendar is connected to the task manager, if we don't see how, do you put your meeting notes in Obsidian or Evernote, or do you keep it in the task manager? Like,
Hmm.
if you're not clear, then that's when things start to really get messed up. That's the elephant in the room, is that there is not a perfect tool. You just have
Yeah.
to find one that works for you and stay patient and keep working in it. There's a lot of different reasons why tools break, and we talk about those. But I think for the sake of the show, it's just important to look at what you're doing right now and start there. What are
Yeah.
you using right now and what's working and what's not? And then you can start looking for maybe some other alternatives. But I think the key is really looking at it as a complete system and not just
Absolutely.
individual.
And that's why I think that having these two concepts of inbox and workbox are so important, because it allows us to see these as systems, not as individual products.
Right.
And they're not just one tool. They are a system of tools that work together to help you manage your brain. And that's why it's important. Now,
Yeah.
the other piece we're talking about is managing impulsivity, which goes hand in hand with all of this, right? Which
Yes.
is this idea of impulsive decision making, because we are in the heat of the moment and we want to buy a new planner and we want to try a new system and we want to subscribe to a different app because we think it's going to be the end all be all. And the allure of shiny new things is super strong, which is something we've talked about as the ADHD tax for a long time, right? You buy something and never use it, you've paid the ADHD tax.
Yes.
And so, what we're talking about in this idea of managing impulsivity is to introduce the thing we try to reduce in every other aspect of our lives, and that's friction. Every time we talk about friction, usually you'll hear me say, I want to reduce friction because the time between having an idea and writing down an idea or capturing an idea, I can get distracted and miss it and lose
Yes.
it. It's gone. So I want to reduce friction. The fewer steps I can have between having an idea and getting an idea documented or getting something easy done, I want to reduce the friction so I can get it done. Right. We love that. Settled science. But what happens when impulsivity is the problem? Then you have to strategically introduce friction, introduce steps that prevent you from taking impulsive action in a way that feels natural and not shameful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think of it as a way of making personal commitments to yourself in an easy way. Like, for example, I do have my phone beside my bed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm that's my clock. It's my alarm clock. It wakes me up. When I'm going to bed, I listen to audiobooks and it's all run on my phone. And normally I don't have a problem with that. But when I'm in impulsive brain, fireworks brain, I could pick up that phone and not open the audiobook app, or open the audiobook app and find an audiobook that I really want that's not available for free in Libby. And my first instinct is to go over to Amazon and buy the audio version of it. Well, I don't want to spend money all the time whenever I'm impulsive
Right.
on audiobooks. So how do I introduce friction? Well, one easy way is to make sure that I put the phone in a different room when I'm in impulsive mode. Leave it on my desk. Forget it. Leave it on my desk. I'll get it in the morning. Rely on my wife's alarm to wake me up because she
Mm-hmm.
wakes up early. It's fine. I can do that. Somebody tells me about a new restaurant. I'm the kind of person who will get in the car and go to that restaurant and eat my next meal there. What if I commit to a certain number of restaurant or of home meals before I get to try a new restaurant? What if the game is I just need to eat every 8 meals at home before I get to eat out? And that
That's
becomes the
actually a
game,
really good idea.
right? Right?
Yeah.
That's friction. And it's not about this one restaurant that I've just been introduced to. It's about the mindful pattern of committing to the friction game, which is I haven't eaten 8 meals at home
Right.
yet.
Right.
I can't try that yet because I've gamified that. And for me, that works really well. I love to keep score on stuff. I love to you know, track points.
Yeah.
So the goal is not about restriction, right? It's about informed decision making. It's about giving
Mm-hmm.
yourself time to not make the impulsive purchase or the impulsive, commitment, or the impulsive, commitment with your time, and making change too fast, like
Right.
hastily, right? So I don't know. How does that fit?
I like it. And I really like the idea of of eating in. And I only say that because we eat out way too much. And so that's a nice way to like make sure you're saving money too.
Yeah, a little bit,
Extra tip.
Yeah. I think that this one, particularly for making decisions when you're moving into workbox mode, is
Right.
really important, right?
Yeah.
Introducing friction when you're trying to get something done is key to getting that one thing done. And how are you going to introduce friction? Well, one of the ways to introduce friction, to not plan while you're working, is to keep all of your task and planning tools closed and out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll get distracted and anxious and overwhelmed by the, frankly, probably too many things that are
That you have
in
to
your
do.
task list. Yeah, because you've done all the inboxing right. And
Right.
that's okay. We're busy people. We have a lot to do, and that's okay. So I think that this is helpful, but you have to look at your workbox and determine where you need to maintain friction and not
Mm-hmm.
eliminate friction, because that's
Mm-hmm.
a dance. It's a
Mm-hmm.
delicate dance. You want to break
What?
down some myths?
Well, some of these things that we've already talked about, there is no one tool that is best for ADHD. Any tool can work. So you have to remember that. And it can be simple to complex. And I think the best way to figure that out is to practice. You have to practice. And, I think that a lot of times tools, especially task managers that are digital. And this happens to us a lot, where somebody will hear what we're working in and then they'll download it, but they don't necessarily do anything with it. They just play around with it, or they throw a couple of projects in there and then they don't go back to it. So it's important to know that if you're going to try something, do commit to it and get it to be good enough where you can work in it to really see if it's going to be the right tool or not. So practice. That's the biggest thing, is you got to practice and see what works and tweak and adjust. And just because something has 500 features to it doesn't mean you have to use 500 features.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good place to start, if you are thinking about switching any of your tools, is to really think about what you do need as your own workbox, and start here. And you can kind of start to think about, well, I know I need a calendar. I know I need a task manager, but maybe I also need a place for my notes, or I need a place for information that I have gathered from the internet that I want to keep for later references, right? I need something for, how am I going to remember what to do in 6 months? So I need something to remind me of long-term types of projects. So start thinking about what it is that you need, and how does your ADHD impact how you use these tools? That is
Mm-hmm.
so much of what we talk about with the book, is understanding how ADHD impacts you and how do you support your ADHD. So if something is not innovative, if something seems clunky or complicated, you're never going to use it. So don't try to force it. Right? If
Right.
you really love paper and everybody's telling you to go digital, stay with paper. It's okay. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can make it work. You can do both. There is no right or wrong decision. And this goes back to, there's not just one tool. You can do both. It's totally fine. I do believe, and this is, important, is that the calendar and the task manager are the must tools you have to have in your workbox if you want to do any kind of planning or scheduling, because the calendar is going to tell you where and when you need to be somewhere. We have to have that. We can't hold those things in our memory. You're going to forget, or you're going to overbook yourself, or be stressed all the time. The task manager, again, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, organizes and tracks those projects and tasks. And so those are the two areas that I would really concentrate on first, and then look at those other planning tools and how do they support these two main ones. It really will make a difference. And we definitely talk about this in the book. We hope that you check it out, and can see how they work together. And then the workflow, which is something we're going to talk about next week, are the different routines and action steps you take to maintain these things so that they don't get dropped or forgotten. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah,
Work clothes are my favorite things in the world. They're shiny diamonds in my day.
they are.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
are.
So check out the book, takecontroladhd.com/ADHD book, or just search for it in all the places. But if you go to ADHD book, you'll see some of the nice things that other professionals have said about the book who have read it. And it's really nice to read. So
nice.
We also have it. I'll just say that I'm not fishing, but I'm sort of fishing. I did add to the website an automated Amazon API call so that if and when people review the book and give it nice reviews, it will just show up on the website. And it's empty right now. And I know that some people have gotten the book. So if you happen to be hyper-focusing on the book and reading it real fast, it would be awesome if you would write a review and see and tell others what you think. I'd love to see it pop up, if only to help me test. It's a real technical request more than anything else. Help Pete test the Amazon call on the website.
The technical side of
it's
Amazon
QA.
and website.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time and your attention. And thanks for hanging out through this series as we explore Unapologetically ADHD. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you back here next week with Workflows on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.